Ivan McKee, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Today's debate gives us an opportunity to highlight the different approaches to nurses' pay adopted across each part of the UK. And I welcome the Labour Party bringing this debate to the Parliament this week in advance of International Nurses' Day, which falls this weekend. The debate gives us a chance to compare and contrast how the different administrations, the Scottish Government, the UK Government and the Welsh Government, each treat the most valuable asset of our NHS, its staff. Because while there is a clear process in place to determine nurses' pay, with independent peer review body making recommendations each year that cover all parts of the UK, the approach of each government has differed. And this tells us much about what we need to know about the priorities, focus and commitment of each administration and of the parties that run them. While both the Tory-led UK Government and the Labour-run Welsh Government have failed to implement in full the recommendations of the Pay Review Body, the Scottish Government, run by the SNP, in contrast, has stood by the body's recommendations and implemented them in full. So while Labour talks the talk, while failing to meet the PRB's recommendations but has the power to do so, and the Tories look the other way, it is the SNP which has met its obligations to abide by the agreements that are in place, funding nurses' pay to the level required by the review body. The Royal College of Nursing understands this well, as it said in its briefing in advance of the debate today. It states, the Scottish Government has implemented recommendations made by the PRB to date, even when the UK Government has not. This means pay rates for each of the pay bands vary. For example, the starting salary for a newly qualified nurse is £21,909 in England, the same in Wales, £21,693 in Northern Ireland and £22,218 in Scotland. A Band 5 nurse in Scotland earns £300 more than their equivalents in England and in Wales. It is a clear demonstration of their priorities that the Tories never stop talking about the top 10%, the higher rate taxpayers who can afford to pay a bit more, while they never mention NHS staff who benefit from a similar amount in higher pay in Scotland. Never mind the benefit of the council tax, some £400 lower in Scotland than the rest of the UK implement in the majority of households. Because when it comes right down to it, the Tories' priorities, their target constituency is laid bare for all to see. If you're in the top 10%, they will argue tooth and nail for your interests. If you happen to be an NHS worker in a fraction of that, then they're not interested in even honouring the independent recommendations on your pay. And not only are the SNP and Government honouring the PRB's recommendations, additional measures have also been put in place to assist lower paid in the profession. A flat rate £400 uplift for those earning £22,000 or less has been implemented, recognising the particular pressures on low-paid staff. The Scottish Government also understands the importance of supporting those entering the profession, ensuring nurses are trained for the future to support our growing health service. Nursing bursaries are still in place in Scotland, and nursing students pay no tuition fees. This is in stark contrast to policies elsewhere in the UK where both have been scrapped. As a consequence, the number of English applicants to nursing courses has plummeted by 23%, 10 times worse than in Scotland. It is no surprise that England is suffering from a 9% nurse vacancy rate, more than double that in Scotland, a consequence of the different approaches to the treatment of staff. And the Scottish Government also understands the need to provide stability and security for our NHS staff. In contrast to the situation south of the border, where there have been more than 20,000 compulsory redundancies over the past 6 years, NHS Scotland has continued with its policy of no compulsory redundancies. Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government's higher remuneration practices also apply to other NHS workers. Entry-level support staff in Scotland are paid £1,128 more per year than their English counterparts. Consultant salaries in Scotland can be up to £2,000 higher than elsewhere in the UK. These measures are underpinned by the Scottish Government's commitment to support our health service, with £500 million of real terms funding increases over the lifetime of this Parliament, £500 million more than that committed by Scottish Labour in their 2016. Sure.
Anna Sarwar.
The member for taking intervention. Will he agree that for any nurse or any NHS staff member in Scotland to have to turn to a food bank is a scandal and unacceptable? And what action does he suggest should be taken, if not giving them a pay rise?
Ivan Key.
If the member had been listening for the last 5 minutes, we would have understood what I've just said. In Scotland, nurses are getting paid more than they are in Labour-run Wales. And what's he got to say about that? And the point I was just making, the Scottish Government has committed £500 million more to the health service than Scottish Labour had in their 2016 manifesto that they were elected on last year. This against the backdrop of a 10 years real-term 9.2% DEL funding reduction from the UK Government to Scotland since 2010, when the Tories came to office. And not only in funding and support for its staff, that NHS Scotland is outperforming its counterparts in England and in Labour-run Wales. A&E performance significantly higher in Scotland than across the rest of the UK. And the Scottish Government has also stood firm against the creeping privatisation of services in the rest of the UK, a trend that has seen 7% of health service provision down south now in private hands. In conclusion, Presiding Officer, the contrast between how the SNP Scottish Government funds and runs the health service here and how the Tory UK Government and the Labour-run Welsh Government run their health services could not be clearer. When it comes to fulfilling our commitment to implement the recommendation on nurses' pay, as in so many other aspects of running our NHS, it is this SNP Government that the people of Scotland can trust to have their interests at heart and to deliver for staff and patients alike.